we have 24 facts to go
Yes.
with.
Oh, wow.
You guys are number
very,
6.
like, in
You guys should
theme.
make Kiefer Sutherland
Impressive.
Oh my goodness! I wish I could have. That would have been hilarious. Just not even find A24 facts. Just find the TV show.
TV show 24.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, Itisdpayne, and special guests.
Hello, special guests.
Hello.
Should we introduce ourselves?
If you want, that's up to you. I don't have a fun topic like the other one.
That's fine.
We will call you Jimmy and you Theodore.
I don't-
You can choose which one.
I don't know who. Well, clearly I'm going to be Theodore. Obviously. I don't know why you would think I'd be anyone else.
That's up to you. References for people who don't cross the streams. Yeah, so we have Jon and Elizabeth. They are, definitely the handful of IRL friends I have. but also they were on. Well, they're still on Sanity Lost, the Call of Cthulhu podcast I do with them. And then they were on the Ravenscale's Inquiry, which was the Pathfinder / D&D campaign that ended last December.
Yeah.
So, and they came to watch a lighthearted movie today.
I know. I was going to
Sure
say,
did.
it's not really that much of a crossover. We just, play scary games with you, and we came to watch intense, traumatizing movies. So, same thing.
Whoa! Don't bury the lead.
The vibe's all the same.
Yeah.
Don't worry, every episode's like this because it's A24 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've watched one lighthearted, I guess technically 2 lighthearted movies, but one person was traumatized by it because she didn't want to watch that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's unfortunate.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I was looking through, and I'm like, which one? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that comes out in 3 weeks, because if anyone's been paying attention, all the guest episodes happen in 3-week increments.
And then another one that we watched was lighthearted, was just an okay movie.
Is that the one that comes out in 6 weeks?
Is that the one with the other guest? Yeah.
We have a really good track record for this series of choosing very good movies for our guests to watch. Well, actually, KJ, he was K to the J. He loved Hereditary.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
nice. Yeah, that
Yeah.
feels like something he would be into.
Have agreed to that one.
Wait, no. I'm thinking...
You're thinking of J2.
Yeah, I'm thinking
J.
of
DeRudo.
Yeah.
It's weird how
I know.
how small my circle is. It's like, well, I forgot that you guys played a game with him in
Charity
in
Palooza.
Charity Palooza.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how the heck do you guys know J2? Like, everyone should know J2. That reminds me, I gotta go talk with J2 and find out. Hey.
Yeah, we do want to
What?
have him on. We just need to figure it. Did we decide the movie to ask him?
No.
Okay.
It has to be a good one. He'll make
Well,
it.
there's only 2 left.
Oh. So your choices are very limited.
Yeah. Scraping the bottom
Yeah.
of the barrel now.
So, yeah, it's one of those things that we didn't purposely push him to the end, or like one of the last people I asked. It was just so Hereditary was the tough one to get anybody to sign up for.
We had a lot of people say they didn't want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when we did that, I'm like, well, here's the rest of the movies we want you on, and then that's how it just came to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And so I'm trying to remember. I think the one that's coming on in 2 weeks yelled at us when they found out the movie that is coming after that one, and when we said we were trying to find someone to watch Hereditary. We apparently
They
thought all the
wanted
wrong
to watch
people.
Hereditary?
Hey, it's a good family movie.
So
It's about family morals.
yeah, they apparently are bigger fans of horror than we initially expected. Like, we
Oh,
knew they
okay.
played horror games like Dead by Daylight and things, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that she was, like, a huge fan of, like, the full genre. Or if she did the thing where, like, she streams it because she has friends that play those types of games.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's also, those episodes are buck wild because she has confirmed ADD.
Oh, nice.
Confirmed
just-
ADD.
I just have the internet telling me.
Yeah. Dave has suspected ADD.
By everyone else, I don't know. I thought it'd be funny this
He's in
year.
denial. He has denial
I-
ADD.
Yeah. DAD.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what? That I should make it a Charity Palooza goal that I will take the ADD test.
Oh,
What?
that would be fun.
That would be fun.
We'll see if I can actually finish it. Anyway.
Finish the test or finish Charity Palooza.
Charity Palooza is a little bit too far out to really think about.
Uh-huh.
But so when I was ordering this, putting the movies in order, as we were talking a little bit, The Lobster, when I came across it, was a romantic comedy, which I think is absolutely true.
Yes, I knew you would. I told him. We finished that movie. I'm like, Dave's going to think this movie was hilarious.
Side note, John and I, like, we've been friends for years, to where the Saw movies were coming out, and I got yelled at by our friends and wouldn't want to sit next to me because I couldn't take the movie seriously and would laugh through it. Back when I used to watch movies for fun. It makes it sound like I'm not having fun watching these movies. I just can't watch movies anymore.
You need an assignment.
Yeah, and I got too much happening. But I also chose this because when this episode releases, it will be 2 days before Valentine's Day. So
All right. Good choice.
Yeah.
But you only knew that it was like labeled as romantic comedy.
Yep.
Okay.
I purposely did not do any extensive research on the movies I haven't watched.
Yeah. I mean, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
It's okay. The movie you have coming out the Monday after Valentine's Day is also not a good one for the holiday
Yeah.
that we've already recorded.
Last week's episode, A
Yeah.
Ghost Story,
No.
that's...
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say we watch Past Lives.
Yes, Past Lives is next week. Hey, guys. Now you know. Now you
Now
don't
you
have to
know.
wait to the end of the episode.
But that is also terrible for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so was the one before. Just because it was a bad movie.
Theme.
Hey, but we did find out that A Ghost Story, if you guys really want to watch it, it for some reason is back in theaters.
In time for Valentine's Day, yeah.
What?
Yep.
That's
I
weird.
don't know anything about that movie. How old is
when
it?
did that movie come out?
2017?
It's not
It
even
is an
that-
older one, but you can also watch it for free on Tubi if you want to question the quality of the movie. But
You might
Yeah, it's
you
just
might
weird
actually
that
be
they
able to
would-
hear the movie.
it's
Yeah, I
weird
was gonna
that
say
they would pull that
re-release it.
back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a odd one.
However, there is one thing we forgot to do. Because we've been going through the facts, random facts about this about A24. Because, John, I don't know if you guys know, but we've been calling this series 24 A24 for 2024 because we're watching 24 A24 movies for the beginning of 2024.
Mouthful.
Yeah.
and we have 24 facts to go
Yes.
with.
Oh
And
wow!
you guys are number
very
6.
like in
You guys should
theme.
make Kiefer Sutherland proud.
Impressive.
Oh my goodness! I wish I could have. That would have been hilarious. Just not even find A24 facts. Just find the TV show.
TV show 24.
24. Oh man.
Now you're
We gotta-
you're disappointed.
we gotta redo the
Yeah,
whole series
thing.
out.
The whole thing. Cross it
you
out.
gotta-
Start again.
You gotta consult me for ideas, Dave. I'll be your idea guy.
So the other fun thing is that this list is in, like, it tells a story as it goes, and some of these episodes, like, we've recorded episodes that come out in March, and so we're like, well, that's a jump from what the last one we read. So, but the number 6 fact on here is that in 2013, the company struck up a $40 million deal with DirecTV Cinema, through which DirecTV Cinema would release A24 films 30 days before the theatrical release. Oh.
I always forgot about DirecTV. I had a family friend that had DirecTV.
Huh. Yeah, we never did. I always thought it was very cool when friends had it, but we never paid
That was
for
the satellite one, right?
Yeah, it was satellite. I just
so.
liked it because my friends had the Fuse channel, so I could listen to music that wasn't just what was on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my goodness, when I was stuck in the hotel room for my brother's graduation, I was like, where isn't there channels that just are music? And I was like, I don't want to watch reality TV. I want background noise without a story.
I think that is kind of what reality TV is.
I don't know. I don't watch. Okay, let me rephrase that. I want background music without people talking.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's fine.
Without people screaming and threatening each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I put on, I think it was like house restoration stuff.
Oh yeah, HGTV. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it was. It was a month ago.
I think it's interesting though, going back to that fact, like DirecTV, I think is now considered the like less quality way to get television, right? Like you get a satellite, so you don't have to pay for TV. So interesting that they like cut this. Like, does that mean that at one point DirecTV was like popular enough that it made sense for them to release that early?
My guess
right?
is the way that worked is DirecTV probably approached them and said, "Hey, we'll give you a bunch of money if you release your movies on our platform."
Yeah.
Because
To get
DirecTV's
people to sign up, yeah.
Because
Yeah, I guess
DirecTV
I
is
just-
not a like major platform currently, just because of the way streaming is. So my guess
Right.
is
Yeah.
they're trying to buff up their content because they're more expensive. That's been one of like people's main critiques is they're kind of overpriced for what you get, especially by nowadays kind of
Well, yeah, because you have to like
offerings.
contend with like weather messing up
right.
your TV.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
anything that they can get on their platform is a win for them.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
There's your fun fact.
Official weigh-in by Dave Payne.
Yes. I'm not titling episodes for YouTube.
Wow, did you really get distracted in the 20 seconds that I shared a thought?
What? Hey, you guys normally talk longer in Sanity Lost, so I'm able to do a little bit more.
See, you shouldn't admit that. You shouldn't admit that you don't pay attention to me because I can now do things that will mess up your game. I'm just going to take
You
advantage of
guys
that.
been trying to mess up the game since the second chapter.
I don't know that I've been intentionally trying to mess up the game.
It is what it is. Yeah, I can't think of anything else fun to say. But let's go. Okay, I did set up the timer already. Shall we find out how people find their potential mates in the future?
Are you suggesting we roll dice to see who gets to kick off the discussion? Because I don't think we
Yeah.
ever said that we watched The Lobster together.
Well, we didn't technically watch it together. We watched it on our own time.
But we never told the viewers or the listeners that we watched
Hey,
The
you-
Lobster.
Hey, you people that can't read the title. I'm talking to you, Carl.
Poor Carl.
Yeah, very single out.
No.
Okay, am I rolling a dice?
Yeah. So yeah, you can roll the dice. We roll dice to find out who's going to give a quick synopsis of the movie, The Lobster, that we just watched. The highest one will go. And yeah, if anyone's wondering why we roll dice, it's because all of us literally in this call are big nerds, and we will take any chance we can to roll dice.
Yes.
I am definitely not going.
I don't think I'm going either. But if you,
Me-
this movie is a bit older.
no.
But if you don't want spoilers, turn back now.
Oh yeah,
Come back later.
Yes. When did this movie
Well,
come
listen-
Go
out?
watch a movie. Then
This
come back and
podcast isn't for you then.
Yeah, this movie came out in 2015, and by the rules that I keep forgetting that we made up for rules of spoilers, we're going to spoil the heck out of this. So, go rent it from Amazon, or if you have a free way to watch it, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, that's enough. I rolled a 3.
I rolled an 8.
I rolled a 3 as well.
Oh my gosh! How did I roll a 9 and still have to freaking give a synopsis?
The one person who's
kidding
like,
me?
I don't want to. No, I rolled a 3.
I rolled a 3 as well.
I literally was like, I cannot give a synopsis of this movie. It's too hard. It's too hard.
It's not.
Roll sanity.
Okay.
Just go with themes.
Well, now I feel on the spot because I was sure that I was not going to give it. But
This
I
is what
rolled
we
a
live for.
9. I was like, cool. I don't have to worry about this. All right.
See, you tempted fate by saying, I definitely don't want to do this.
I know, I did. Okay, so this is apparently labeled as a romantic comedy. I would strongly disagree. I would actually probably call it like an absurdist, dystopian,
Objection, leading the witness.
maybe comedy. I didn't find it particularly like funny, as it was more absurd. So, synopsis, I'm just giving like basic overview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so essentially the world lives in this extreme belief system that you have to have a mate. And so if you ever are separated from your mate by death, your partner leaves you, something happens, then you have to go to this hotel where you have 45 days to find your partner. And if you don't find your partner after 45 days, you get turned into an animal. How that happens is never super clarified. They talk about it. It sounds horrifying. The hotel guests hunt the people who don't find mates and tranquilize them. If you tranquilize a hunted, you get an extra day. You can see how that goes. Once you find a partner, you have like what did it end up being? Like 6 weeks? 4 weeks of like progressive like relationship building or something to make sure that it's like perfect.
It's
2 in a hotel and 2 on a yacht.
On a yacht, yeah.
And then if you pass the test, you move into the city.
Then you can go back, yeah.
And if you argue a bunch, you get a kid.
Yeah.
Right,
Kids
because
make it
kids
better.
make things better. Yeah, for sure. And then, so that's kind of like the one part of the world. And then we are introduced in the second half of the movie to the other extreme, which is like, I called them the loner cult. They don't have a name.
They're called the loners.
Yeah, they call themselves the loners.
Do they call themselves the loners?
Yeah.
Okay. I was often uncertain of people's names in general. Like, I personally still don't know what the main character's name was.
David.
David? Cool. I missed it and never wrote it down.
They don't say it a lot.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's
Well,
said
even in
probably
the
most,
credits, they describe like the people are credited like who they were, like as opposed to like a character name. So I caught that at the end as it scrolled
I
by.
didn't see
Yeah.
that.
We can get into that in the sick.
So there's the other extreme, the loners. They go literally to the other absurdist extreme where they're essentially like, you know, like they horrifically punish people for any sort of like togetherness or partnership or love, and they live in the woods around the hotel essentially. People who escape from the hotel then go to the loner cult or society. And the movie follows David and his journey to find a partner, meet the loner cult, as you can imagine, fall in love, maybe. Love is weird in this movie. And then it just kind of ends, which I'm sure we'll talk about the weird ending, or the unsatisfying ending. Okay, did I miss any big points?
Well, except for leading everyone into one form of belief of the movie. No, I think you did good.
Hey, you asked me to give a synopsis. That's my synopsis.
No, the dice told you to do it.
That's true.
So, I laughed a lot through the movie. I can understand why you wouldn't, but I think I have the exact biases that the writer of this movie has. So, like, when they did the thing, like, if you guys argue, we give you a kid, I was like, that is so funny, because every adult couple that I know right now should never have had kids.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna start the timer.
yeah, because I have a friend who is like, yeah, I know someone who got a new puppy. I was like, oh, isn't that the person with 2 kids? She's like, yeah. I was like, isn't that the person that quit couples therapy because it was too hard? And she's like, yeah. I was like, so watching The Lobster, having that discussion, I was like, yeah, it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a really good job of pulling on those like utterly absurd, relatable experiences, you know? Like, I think even to the level of the only way they described love, whether they were in the hotel or in the woods, was to find like a physical characteristic that was relatable, right? Like we apparently can only be together if we both have nosebleeds. We can only be together if we're both short-sighted. And I think like even that plays out in the way that we do relationships in terms of like trying to like compatibility, right? Like compatibility is such a thing that's talked about probably to like at times a toxic level.
Well, and
So
that's
I feel
kind
like
of like, yeah, I think the movie was taking that and so saying, like, these are like kind of, like, you could see common elements of modern relationships, and then if you blow those out to the extremes, that's kind of what this movie played out. So, like, kind of simple elements of, like, looking for something you have in common with somebody else became the the basically the gateway to actually entering into a relationship with somebody in the movie. And then it was, there was no actual relational emotional connection to anybody. It was all very, rigorous, very strict, black and white, very performative. There wasn't really any level of emotional connection, so it kind of stripped that out of it, left, took what was left as far as like the way we look at relationships, and then blew them out to opposite ends of the same extreme, which, like, or as we were talking about during the movie, it's kind of the same, or two sides of the same coin. It was very opposite spectrums, but like once you get far enough to the extreme, you almost kind of come back around and become more similar than not. So
like the hotel or the broader cultural perspective and the loners essentially ended up in the same position in terms of like rigid harmful rules, despite the fact that they were on opposite sides of the belief spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing that cracked me up was when he was giving all his information, and they're like, you can either be homosexual or heterosexual.
I know. I love that they were like, it was too hard. It was too hard to figure out bisexuality here. We're not doing that.
But I was like, watching that, I'm like, this is like setting up a dating profile.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even that whole scene, like when they're intaking him, I thought was like they did kind of a good job of like dehumanizing everybody, where you had everybody like sitting in their underwear, like nobody seemed particularly uncomfortable. It was more, they seemed more just kind of like put out, or waiting to see what happens next. But it was just like this feeling of thinking about a movie where you may eventually become an animal. Like it was kind of a very dehumanizing beginning to kind of that progression.
Yeah.
But it's also talking about the homosexual heterosexual choice. It's interesting that then once he chose heterosexual and moved into like the house, it seemed like the whole hotel was built that way. So I don't know if they had a different section entirely for homosexuals. And it was also interesting that like there didn't seem to be a negative impact on what you chose. You just had to have a mate. That was the the driving force. So sexual preference didn't seem to have a stigma around it, or a negative stigma. It was more being alone was the negative stigma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that makes sense with the whole them joke, like the joke about it being a logistical nightmare if they're bisexual, because if you like sign up for one of them, they're like, okay, it's exactly even, so there's guaranteed pairs. Whereas if you have people with a more fluid preference, it could end up with like two people you didn't expect, and then it's like the numbers don't add up in the way that you can keep things even, especially with like even just, I don't think they were thinking of this when they wrote the movie, but when you think of sexual preference, people can be bisexual but prefer, like he kind of says it, he's like, I prefer women, but like men aren't a bad option, but I think I prefer women.
Yeah.
Like logistically, for them to keep that even, they'd be like, I have no clue.
Right. Right.
And in this world that's very black and white, and all the numbers have to order up, like there's no room for that kind of, variance.
Speaking about variants, every time John C. Reilly shows up in this movie, it takes me out of the movie.
It really
entirely.
was such an odd cast. I mean, he did a great job, but like there was no one else in this movie that was like recognized. Well, no. The hotel matron. I recognized her. The hotel manager.
Okay.
I recognize her, but like he was the most recognizable actor, and I feel like it worked in the movie's favor that no one was recognizable. So I agree.
It's kind of funny because the main actor is, I don't know, I recognize the main actor.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, unrecognizable to me. Yeah.
I guess he does gain a bit of weight for this role compared to his usual famous roles, and he has a really thick mustache, so I can see that.
What else does he play in?
Colin Farrell, he's done a bunch of action movies,
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
in
This
the
is kind of
Batman.
very outside, I think, what you would normally see him in.
That's true. He does look a lot different. I don't think I was like super putting those pieces together.
Yeah, he's one of those like 8-pack actors.
Exactly. No,
I'm just thinking of
schlubbed up
the Lego
a bunch for this
Batman.
one.
The Lego Batman movie. I got 9.5 abs. Where's the half? Right here. But yeah, it was.
And
I don't
it
know
was
what it
funny
was.
because it was like John C. Reilly being John C. Reilly, but it fit in the kind of going back to this sort of like almost absurdist vibe. Like he worked in that like just kind of weird, awkward social vibe that everybody has when they interact.
I think he was. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I almost feel like he was one of the more authentic characters. Like he actually like had some genuine emotion, where most people very clearly were like emotionally stunted, and I think like he brought, or it felt to me like he brought some actual humanity to it, where there were glimpses of humanity in the people, like the maid who helped David like escape, like she had some humanity, but like there was everyone was just very like disconnected from what we experience as like regular human experience, and I feel like out of everyone he was the least rigid, and so I think that was like necessary.
He's the only one we saw punished for breaking the rules as well.
Yeah.
And punished for having compassion while hunting.
No, that's not why he was punished. He was punished for.
I know why he was punished. I'm talking about later when he gets stabbed in the leg.
Oh yeah,
he's
well,
like,
that's true.
When he shows weakness, yeah.
yeah, he's like, okay, and then he gets stabbed in the leg. I know the first time he gets punished, it's like, I don't know.
Also, his discussion of it was so funny, where he's just like, they're like, what were you looking at? He's like, a naked lady on a horse.
I know.
Well, it's like even extra awkward because it's like they're having this conversation, and isn't it spliced in where they're just the maids just like comes in. It's like, okay, David, you know what time it is,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't want to do this, and he's like, too bad. It's to help you
motivate
find a mate.
you.
Yeah.
Air quotes.
And I'm like,
So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So uncomfortable.
it was just like 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Well, and then when she leaves and he's like, "Oh, can you just stay a little longer?" and she like walks out and he's like, "Well, that's just mean." That was probably the funniest part I found. That was genuinely comedic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so essentially, just to give some context, there is absolutely no sexual anything allowed unless it's with another person.
until you
yeah,
get to the second.
If
The Butter
Second
Biscuits
step.
lady.
Oh
the
my
Butter
god, that's who I
lady.
wanted to talk about next.
And the Butter Biscuits lady. I feel like this movie does need a little bit of like a content warning for both like suicidal stuff as well as like animal cruelty, which I don't know if we're getting there, but like holy moly, that was rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, Butter Biscuits lady. That was rough.
Well, it's like the whole scene where they're like, I'm pretty sure all of us have had that awkward conversation while he's like, he looked outside the window and didn't want to talk to her. But the person he didn't want to talk to the most. And then she says, I have some biscuits. Or he's like, I tried calling you. You must have fell asleep. Like, or says something.
Yeah.
And then it's like, 'cause when we find out the narration is his telling that is written in a journal by the woman he meets later. And it's just, the narrator repeats exactly what she said. And it's just like, I thought, it's like, sorry, dogs are not allowed outside. And he's like, and he was proud of himself for that excuse because it felt like that would end the conversation. And then she keeps talking, and he's just like, I'm good. I'm good.
I know.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Hop.
I was just gonna say, I think it's funny. So like you mentioned, John C. Reilly is like kind of like the human character in this. She's kind of like the desperation, kind of like how we brought up that it's everything blown up to a proportion that's like, it seems so absurd, but if you really look at the theme of it, you're like, oh, I've met people with these tendencies, like little bits, but yeah, she's definitely desperation, where she's just like, here are my offers, I will do literally anything for you if you were just to look me in the eye. And he's just like, I guess I'll give these to my dog.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's when she's like, hey, if I don't find someone in like 3 days, I'm jumping out of the window. I live on the first floor, so it's this. So I'll probably go, and like talks through the whole thing, and he's just like looking out the window. It's like, oh my gosh, is he gonna stop talking?
And this whole conversation that they're having is on the way to them hunting human people to be turned into animals. So like, even just like the absurdity of like just the context of it, right? Like they're in this bus on the way to hunt humans
with tranquilizer guns.
Yeah, while she's like talking about. Well, she's, like, equally trying to, like, throw herself at him and then in the same breath, like, talk about killing herself because if she can't find someone, she doesn't want to be turned into an... Like, there's so much there.
And what's kind of interesting, if you, like, it's not super obvious, but the cold-hearted woman is sitting behind them. And she's very much paying attention to David, kind of be... disregard this woman's like vulnerability and weakness, and like you see her paying attention to him and like kind of watching him and like in a very like kind of intent and like interested way, which I thought was kind of interesting that he tries to play up those not caring or like kind of sociopathic emotions later on, but I think to a degree he does have those.
Well, and their first like genuine encounter, between David and the cold-hearted woman is after Butter Biscuits lady
tries
jumps
to kill herself,
out of her first floor window room and like seriously injures herself.
I thought that whole scene was buck wild because he's like, I'm going to go hunt somebody, bring it to her, and say we're mad, like all this stuff, and then
he
just
has his playbook in his whole head,
and then does the playbook, but instead of bringing a body, it's just they're both looking at the Butter Biscuit lady screaming in the background, and he's like, "Yeah, want to hang out?"
Yeah,
he's like, I have my priorities, and I hope that our priorities align. So, like, if I keep talking, maybe you'll agree that our priorities are the same. As this lady is screaming.
Yeah. They did a really good job. I'll say a good job of like making that probably pretty authentic of like what it would sound like if someone was like deeply
basically
injured,
shattered all of their bones but did not kill themselves.
And it was such a like disconcerting, like nauseating, this is why I don't like these movies, because like I feel these things so deeply, like nauseating juxtaposition of like these two people having this like calm, like, so to set the scene, right, she's like sitting at this table and there's this beautiful view behind her of the whatever lake or they're on some body of water, and like she's reading a book and it's like this beautiful serene landscape, and then you just the only thing you hear, there's no music, nothing, it's just this woman screaming, and they're just having this like
the backtrack to their conversation,
sociopathic conversation.
And it's not even like screaming, it's like uncomfortable, like
moaning,
crying, whimpering of somebody
Yeah.
who is in significant pain. And so
Yeah.
it's like unsettling. Like you
It's
feel
very
uncomfortable.
unsettling. Yeah.
The one thing I want to see the scene of. So there's a guy who has a limp, a woman who has a nosebleed. The guy who has a limp fakes that he has a nosebleed, so that way it's like,
By
hey, here's
smacking his head on things. FYI,
Yes.
it's not
Yes.
just like he literally hits his face on things to make his nose
Hard
bleed.
enough, yeah.
yes,
completely.
But
or
he
like,
he figures out a trick later that the guy calls out.
Yeah.
It just took a
Yes.
while for him to get there.
Yeah.
yeah, but like while watching this, we see them and they're like, we are now becoming a couple because we have bonded over our nosebleeds, and it's like we're compatible because of our nosebleeds, and then it's just that's it.
Yeah.
I want to see the speech of the cold-hearted lady and David of what they said.
I know.
yeah.
They
Like,
like-
what was the thing?
Yep.
We both like watching people die.
Yeah, and then the thing to point out, the cold-hearted lady, she has the record for most people hunted.
Yes.
So your stay is supposed to be 45 days, take it or leave it, or you get turned into an animal. She has, what, by the...
Like 100
It's
or
158.
something, or yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Because after one of the hunts, they're like, she caught 4 people in this one hunt. And it's like, and everybody else is like, Butter Biscuits didn't catch anybody, the main character didn't catch anybody. Like, it's clearly difficult, and she's out here
because she
hurting
keeps
people.
taking all the easy kills.
Yeah.
Which
I don't know if easy, because she was very violent.
I
was
know.
so violent. Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that she was even so. To be honest, when I first met her, and they once you figured out, because it wasn't clear at first that the more kill or the more hunted you caught, the more days you got. I kind of assumed that was the case, but they didn't define that until later.
It's mentioned and it's
They
implied
really
in the beginning.
briefly, yeah. Some of these things are not super overt until later in the movie. Anyway, I kind of assumed that she didn't buy in to the partner thing, and that's why essentially she was just keeping herself alive in the hotel by hunting people. So the fact that she was I said to John, she was a true believer, right? Because the guy who gave himself nosebleeds, I don't think he's a true believer necessarily in
The system.
the system of finding your partner and being truthful, because he was willing to lie about his condition. But the cold-hearted woman, she's the one, she ended up killing the main character's dog, who FYI is the main character's brother, essentially to test the main character David and see if he's just as cold-hearted as she is. And as soon as she realized that he wasn't, she was going to turn him in. And it really kind of caught me off guard that she was such a true believer of the system, that she was not going to live her life with a liar. She was not going to stay with someone, even if it meant her survival, if it meant that she was staying with someone who wasn't her whatever.
Well, she's a Sith.
Core.
She deals in absolutes.
It was just really interesting to me. I did not expect her to be someone who bought into the belief system.
Yeah, and it is funny to see that the propaganda that they proposed, that partnership is so important, was very funny to me. The whole little blurbs of man eats alone, man dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I know. Woman
And
walks
then-
alone and she's immediately assaulted.
Well,
yeah.
it looks like one of those floppy
I know.
Yeah, I know.
balloons from Buy a Car Here.
And
they
then
managed to pick
I wrote as,
the weirdest looking dude to
It looked like he was
Yeah.
gonna die.
no
His
effort.
face
Yeah.
was so white.
skeletal and yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I was waiting for the skit Woman with a Gun.
But
It's like,
yeah.
help, but not for me.
So then they have that propaganda, and that it's weird to see for us as viewers to be no one could buy into this, and then you have that woman who buys into it, and then when you
Yeah.
get to the kind of not quite the finale of the movie, but to see that the people feeding the propaganda don't believe it themselves.
Yes.
Where they put it up to the loners come in and they're prove that you love each other, and he's like, I'll kill her. I'll
Yeah.
do it. Like,
Yeah,
I have
right.
no personal connection to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there like, we run a love hotel. And he's like,
Right.
yeah, you do that. I don't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I sit
well,
in
and
the
they
house.
asked him, they were like, on a scale of 1 to 15, how much do you love her? And he says 14. And then they're essentially like, well, which one of you can live alone? And he's like, I can live by myself. And she's like, okay, well then kill her. And he went to the gun wasn't loaded, but like he would have killed her.
Yeah, I thought
I
that
We
wish-
should
whole
talk about.
I thought that
Okay.
whole concept was super interesting. Of
Yeah.
like they built it up like they were gonna go and massacre everybody in the hotel,
Yeah.
and then come to find out they're actually just trying to ruin these like fake relationships, which
Yeah.
I can get behind.
yeah, I mean it's a much more effective
Long-term
terrorist
strategy,
activity,
Yeah.
based on the way the world works.
I
That
just
sounds like
wanted
a lot
to
more
know
fun.
what came afterwards. Like,
know.
I get there was a lot of like not showing everything, right? So I understand that was part of the
Mm-hmm.
movie, but like as a viewer, I totally wanted to know like what was the impact of that infiltration.
Well, I find it interesting that we see all this, like all of these relationships being built up off of just one random thing that they have together.
Yeah.
And then we go see how extreme the loners are, of like you can't even look at a person for longer than 30 seconds without getting punished, to the
Yeah.
point where that's where David and the short-sighted woman meet and have a genuine connection.
But is it though?
I think
Because
so. Like
It's
the-
more genuine than the others, but
compared to everything else, yeah. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
in terms of like genuine connection, it's still not. It's still only based on the fact that they share a physical condition. And that's the whole conflict, because the short-sighted woman is eventually blinded by the leader of the loners, because the leader, figures out that they're in love, and so essentially like punishes her by blinding her. And it shakes their relationship. Like it really does. And we don't actually get to know if it survives, because at the very end of the movie, he has to make the choice, or he's making the choice of whether he's going to blind himself or not. So their whole romance is still based on a shared physical condition, which is not true connection. It's just not.
Well, I guess I looked at it slightly different, where I was looking at the lens where he knew they couldn't be in that society if they didn't have that one thing that they're like, oh, we're together because we're blind. And so it was
Interesting. Okay.
like, because if that was the case of, okay, she's blind, I'm short-sighted, it's never going to work, then why would they even escape? Why would he go through all the trouble to do everything to get into a city where they could hide away?
Mm-hmm.
And to where he comes up with the plan of blinding himself, because he's like, because they have people coming up, like, if you are alone for too long or don't have the right compatibility, they have relationship cops that are just like, show me your papers. And it's I don't know, that's kind of how I was looking at it. I don't know, it's I could see both arguments.
And I can see the side where it feels like, even if it's not like genuine connection in the way that we see it, and like how we understand nuance as people, it is, a step above, because of him having his little moments of like, he's trying to figure out how to be with her. In their very creatively named touch, think, win
Thanks.
game.
I know, that was so cute.
Yeah.
But it does seem like he was uncomfortable, but still trying to like be something with her, even though he was like, this feels wrong to me, but like, I like what we were before, but I don't know how to be that. And then she's like, please, can we keep like I guess in terms like, can we keep up this charade? Can we keep playing the games? Can we keep doing this? And he's like, I don't know. Like, and again, with things blown up to proportion, it is in a way where it's like, oh, you learn something about someone and you don't know what to do with it. And it's like, he's grappling with like, what do I do with a change? Because like Itisdpayne was saying, in the society, it's all like, you have a shared feature. Perfect. You can get married. We'll assign you children. You'll live happily ever after in this weird house. Like, the loner's parents clearly both loved guitar in a very uncomfortable way.
Yeah.
Well, and then they were definitely the couple that had the awkward PDA, like
That was so
personal
the whole
display of
time.
affection.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The whole time,
you guys are just trying to get caught, aren't you?
I was gonna say,
I
well, and
know.
even their like secret language, I just kept saying to John, I was like, this is not hidden.
It's not.
When
I
you're
will-
like
Four
standing up
squats,
and
spin
sitting down
around.
and, like,
Yeah.
like that's not.
While you
that's
stare
not
at
hard
each
to
other
see.
intently and directly.
Yeah. Well, it was just hilarious because then it shows like people with headphones on, just
I
just
know.
like zoned out, or people just sitting there doing whatever.
Yeah, they were doing it like 3 feet from the cult leader or the loner's leader, and nope, that's not it. That's very inconspicuous.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny how David got jealous and he's like, "Let me see your eyes. Let me see you have
That
contacts."
was
in."
Yeah.
so weird. I know.
Yeah,
like,
I couldn't figure
"Oh,
out
I'm
if she
sorry."
was intentionally doing that to like elicit jealousy or if it was just a like happenstance scenario. And it also kind of leads to, Elizabeth and I were kind of talking about this too, like in the group of the loners, like you would see them, there was like this rigid, like, we do not help each other. You know, like the example of the guy that got caught in the bear trap. She essentially said, like, you have to get yourself out, and if you die, you die. That's on you. But then, like, we see examples of, like, you know, people asking for rabbits or, like, you know, hunting food for them. And so, like, this kind of weird, like, I don't know if it was just because like the leader couldn't see them do it, or but like or if it was just like kind of maybe a plot hole just to like advance their relationship. But there was like these cracks where like you would see them kind of helping each other and working together, and so wondering if that was like intentional or just more of a like a convenient plot device.
Well, and I think also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I saw like those little like cracks in like things like kind of like a discussion of how, as much as people want to control what humanity should and shouldn't be, it still sneaks in. Because even in the hotel, you have those moments where the guys are together and they're like, we're in the system, we have to find a partner, it's fine. But then the boys start fighting like grade schoolers because they're like, you talk to the girl, you're better friends with him than I am.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as you want to tell people this is how life is, there's still the little like, people can't help it.
Yeah.
That scene was also funny as the guy's like, "Hey, it's your turn to shoot the gun." Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
They all stop.
Yeah, I think that was like a theme that like humanity came through, but in a very like wonky way. Like the way that it struck me each time was they did I felt a really good job of still like stunting the humanity that did shine through. Like everything that came through was still not normal. Like it was still in some ways like absurd because of the system that they lived in, you know. So like even David like wrestling with how do I be with this woman, there is like the thought
Even, like they're getting together, like they both made the comment of like they were short-sighted, and that
Right.
like initiated kind of their attraction. So like they're trying to break out of the system, but in a way like if this is all you know, then that's
Yeah.
what you operate in.
Yeah. So there's almost like a human impulse there for something different, but there weren't any like there wasn't a tool set or a like an understanding of how to do it differently. And I think what was really fascinating about the end of the movie, where like you don't know if he ends up blinding himself or not, like two things that I feel like really were displayed about David, at least what I picked up, is like his self-preservation and then his kind of like ingrained learning of the system and the propaganda, right? Like you see his self-preservation in like changing for the cold-hearted woman, and then you see his like kind of ingrained learning of the propaganda system in his belief that he has to blind himself to be with her. And suddenly he's at a place where like one of those has to win out. right? Like stabbing your eyes out is like going against self-preservation, but it stands up, like it holds up this system that you've grown up under. But if he were to listen to the self-preservation side and not do that, then he would be in conflict with this system, and he doesn't know necessarily how to do that. And I feel like the ending really like highlighted, like, these are the two things that we know about this character, is that he will do anything to preserve himself, and he does kind of believe in this system.
Mm-hmm.
And the timer went off, so we like
Perfect
I don't know.
wrap up.
Maybe my opinion of the perfect wrap up. I'm sure people have very different opinions about that, because the ending was wild.
But you did say you had a question, so I guess before we fully get towards the end.
There was one thing I just wanted to mention before, because you were saying how they talked and stuff. It was making me laugh how it felt like they were just listing off, like, reciting wiki facts as they would talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Well, that was
like, do you play piano? Do you speak German?
Yep.
Yeah, because they were
Yeah.
trying
Like
to find another thing.
The scene
Yeah,
on
well,
the...
not just at the end, like the whole movie. Whenever they would try to find like a thing, the German one's funny. He's like, "Do you speak German?" No, I could teach you, but it would take about a year. German's the hardest language to learn, and it's just like he goes on for like a minute more, and it's just like, okay, buddy, you can stop.
Yeah.
Well, like, even when they're on the raid, when they're raiding the hotel, when David goes onto the boat, we see that family unit essentially sitting around the table sharing Wikipedia facts. Like, they're not having actual, like, family relational communication. Like, it's him spewing facts to them.
Yeah.
And that's, like...
That's the only way they know how to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally missed this. I was looking at quotes for the Lobster. I didn't realize the loner leaders. Like, I remember saying, we dance alone, but I totally missed. That's why we only play electronic music.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was
the silent disco.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through to see if there's anything.
And the dance scene, the alone dance scene, was wild. Like,
the maid was so happy to not work for the hotel anymore.
I know, and not have to be with the dentist who she murdered.
Yeah.
And I love how she's trying to explain this story, because she's like, I can finally talk to people about what I did. And the main character's like, I have to go deal with rabbits. I must leave.
I know, once again, just like blows off this vulnerable person.
Yeah, yeah. So just in case anyone was wondering, the reason it's called the Lobster is because when you come into the hotel, you have to choose which animal you want to be before you ever like start. And David decides he wants to be a lobster. And I can't actually, Dave, I don't know if you have that quote. I thought that was actually very insightful, what he said.
Why he chose the lobster?
Yeah.
Let's see.
The movie has
because the
nothing to do
lobsters
with it
live for
after
over
that.
100.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's. I was just reading it, so I was like, I know it's here somewhere. It's like, because the lobster lives over 100 years, are blue-blooded like aristocrats, also stay fertile their whole lives. I also like the sea very much.
You know, part of me, and I told Elizabeth this, part of me wonders if the reason he chose that was like those are deficiencies in himself, or why his wife left him.
Fertility.
Yeah.
Because like his wife left him. She didn't die.
Yeah, they never really say why she left, so
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's like a little window into maybe why.
Yeah. But I didn't feel necessarily like those themes came up after that. Like the reasons he gave for being a lobster, and he never was turned into a lobster, so.
Spoilers.
As far as we know, he could have
true.
backed
Yeah.
out.
He could have.
Yeah.
He could have gone back, yeah.
That's that would be a fun conversation. Can I come back?
Yeah.
Just
try
turn
again.
me.
Lobster 2, Electric Boogaloo.
After watching Stinkin' the second day, I was like, just turn me to an animal already.
I know. It's like, I feel like I would be doing better in life as an animal, thanks.
Yeah, seriously. I don't have my hand handcuffed behind my back. Like, all I can think of is like, dude, he's having that much trouble just taking off his pants in peace.
Yeah.
What if you gotta go?
Yeah.
Like,
But
like,
that's why you
seriously.
need a partner.
Right.
that was
To
their
undress you.
catch
Listen,
line. Yeah.
That was the point.
All y'all here with your couples always talking about how good.
I mean, Elizabeth helps me all the time. I can't. She's literally a lifesaver.
Nope. No, half the time John chokes, I don't even know. So, he's going to die one day and I won't know it.
In her mind, it's like, it's one of the dogs there, John. It's
They'll
a
figure it out.
33.33333%.
It's only a third. That's not that much.
No big deal.
Okay, here's my question. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Did they actually murder a donkey in the first 2 seconds of the movie? Or did they manage to train a donkey to fall over like it looked like it died?
I think given that it was 2015, I think they must have done a clever cut to push a dummy over.
Yeah, they had to have. That was so seamless. And the fact that the other live donkey walked over to see what happened, there was donkeys are curious. The fact that the donkey came over, I was like, that looked like they actually killed a donkey.
My other guess is the thing that I like animals, so I was trying to say how they would have done this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, they probably put oats over the dummy donkey.
Oh, to make the donkey walk over.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because I've volunteered at an animal rescue farm.
Yeah.
And they had I think it was donkeys. And I remember they were walking me through. They're like, yeah, this is all the Xanax they have to take because they have terrible anxiety. I was like, oh my God. And then I was walking by cleaning the pen, and one of them was standing by the food bin and staring at me. I was to the caretaker. I was like, do I have to feed her? She's like, oh no, she doesn't recognize you, so she thinks she can trick you and pretend she's starving. Ignore her. She's on a strict diet. So very food motivated.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was very well pieced together. I was very concerned for a second. I was like, did they just kill a donkey?
Yeah, I know. My one question is, what animal did he turn the cold-hearted woman into?
What do you think?
That fish that they pull up from oh my gosh, the sun's out.
Yeah, the sun's right
I couldn't tell if you were frozen or
no.
There's
I was
God.
reading whatever. We don't have that much longer.
I remember there being a camel in the background.
There was
a peacock in the background.
Peacock. There were dogs.
Well, John C. Reilly was disgusted by the choice when he when he confronted him. He was like, "What you did to that woman was terrible." And then he defended himself, saying, I would have done, I would have done that to anybody who, hurt you or whatever. But, it sounded like it was, revolting, whatever he did.
Real quick, from a quick Google search, it looks like it was done by CGI. They filmed the donkey with the fake shot, and then they switched the plate out, pretty much put copy and pasted over it. So no, which it's interesting because one of the things I was reading was John C. Reilly was on a film earlier that another Swedish film where they did kill a donkey on camera.
What?
Oh my God.
And he was so revolted he left the shoot.
Yeah, I think I would too. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's terrible.
So there's that.
What a fact to kind of go on.
So we can all rest easy.
I would like to think she was turned into one of those. I think they're called globfish. They have human faces that they pull from the bottom of the sea.
And then they explode if they're not at the bottom of the sea because they're high pressure animals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess they do make a comment that they say that if anything's endangered, it's because people don't choose us as animals, which I thought was funny.
That was really interesting to me.
Yeah, and then they talked about how if you lie about getting into a partnership, you get turned into the worst things possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he made her some kind of fly or something that has to eat gross stuff all the time.
Right.
Or maybe something without. Okay.
Or I was gonna say something with a short lifespan or.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or something that's just useless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is the worst, in this society? That's what you have to consider in this society where it's normal for humans to become animals. What would be considered the worst creature to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it would just be some
A
animal. Turn back to a human.
I turned it into a baby. Gross.
I would imagine it would be something that they consider doesn't get pleasure out of life, because when they talk to the girl about her final day, they're like, don't ask to go for a walk in the park. You can do that again. Don't ask to like sleep with someone, because you're probably going to do that again as whatever animal you end up being.
That's true. Yeah.
I did like that she picked a pony with the same hair as her, though.
Yeah.
I know. That was so cute. Yeah.
I did like that she slapped her friend in the face for that letter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was
Or
another
make your other
moment.
nostril bleed.
Yeah. That was just that was another moment of like true humanity, I felt, right? Like that moment of like, F you. Like, you are going to stay alive and here I am like dying. Like, don't pretend like this is a happy like ceremony, you know, like.
Well, and she essentially slaps her right after she essentially says, "I'm going to go to the city
friends.
and make replacement friends."
Yeah. Yeah.
They just won't be as good as you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other time I thought like a slap was interesting was again on the boat during the raid when David is trying to blow up their relationship and the wife slaps him, which
like,
makes me think that like she knew the whole thing was a farce and was playing along with the lie so that they could get out.
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, they got a kid within 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
to help with their
Sure.
arguing.
That's true. They weren't doing so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like her first interaction is that she knows how to get blood out of
Yeah.
clothing. Like
Everything.
that's everything, which makes sense for what her
Condition
what
is.
she's
Yeah.
And it's like part of me wonders if like after the first couple days, like she went to go wash the blood out of his shirt, the blood that when he started faking it was like
And it wasn't blood. Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he
True.
started using like ketchup and like something about tea or something. I don't remember all the things that they
Yeah.
said, but yeah.
In the end, what?
Interesting.
The one more thing about that we kind of glossed over. It cracked me up when David and the cold-hearted woman were walking, and they're like, "Oh, we see that you got a mate. We have a child. Isn't that cool?" And they're like, "I hate children." Poof, kicks her in the knee. She falls over. And
Now you'll
she's
limp like
"Ah!"
your dad.
Yeah, now you limp like your dad, loser. I was like, oh my goodness, I just started busting up laughing.
That was pretty funny.
That was
Yeah.
good.
It is also, like, funny in a sad way that the daughter gave her mom a knife. Kill him, Mom!
Yeah, that was so surprising. Because I don't, yeah. I mean, you have to imagine, where do these kids live? Like, I wasn't clear if they keep the kid or like if they give them back when they go back to the city.
It's a renter.
They just-
Yeah,
yeah,
like, are they
exactly.
just kids that live in the hotel and
A
are like,
relational aid.
yeah.
Maybe it's animals that were left behind, and they're like, "Here, we'll make you into a human with people who have to love you."
Right.
Jeez.
Or maybe they're like
Super
orphans
messed up.
whose parents died, and so they like go to the hotel until they're adopted
Adults.
or adults. Yeah, I don't know. There's
Yeah,
like
'cause
so
I
many
was-
questions of this, like the lore, the deeper lore of this movie.
Of
I
this
wanted to
world.
know.
Yeah.
This would be a fun Cthulhu campaign.
Yeah.
The question I had for everybody: what animal would you be?
Ugh.
I would be a tiger.
In this world, yeah.
You would also be a tiger, or
no,
just
no, it
uh,
makes sense. Like, I'm just saying, like, yeah, it makes sense why you would be a tiger.
I mean,
There
my
actually
tigers
weren't
are
any
also my favorite
tigers.
animal. So
Well, you could survive like
Right.
pretty long, I think, as a tiger.
yeah. How come there wasn't like Life of Pi tigers in
I
the
know.
forest? That would have been awesome.
yeah, you had like wolves and dogs. Probably because a tiger would have been too expensive for their budget.
I just realized I was about to spoil Life of Pi. So,
Oh my gosh,
I was
who
about to say
doesn't
something. I'm like,
know
nope.
Life of Pi at this point.
Who
what
doesn't
would I
know
be?
Life of Pi?
I
Never-
say, who
never-
doesn't know? I mean,
never
it's
ask
been
the
around for
internet.
forever.
I don't know. We did not commit to spoiling that movie.
Yeah, okay, all right, fine. I don't know what I would be. The first thing that comes to mind is some sort of like flying creature. I know they say in there that it's stupid to be a bird. Like the John C. Reilly's character wants to be a parrot. But
Well, he
Yeah.
bullied him because he has a lisp, which
Yeah,
is
it's
like-
really mean.
so mean.
That's a good line.
But I feel like after living in a society like that, I would just want to leave. You know, like I wouldn't want to because essentially you become an animal and then you just go to the woods. So like your life isn't that much different. Yeah. So like I think I would want to be some sort of bird, maybe an eagle, and then I could like go and explore and like live my animal eagle life away from this terrible society.
Yeah, I was between a flying creature or a water creature.
Yeah.
I didn't decide which one would be better. The only thing for me as far as like birds of prey, I have rabbits. I don't want that to be my diet. So
yeah, that's fair.
Get it.
Yeah.
So probably, I think, and then there's also the tricky thing because they also bully the main character for his lobster pick because they're like, oh, someone's gonna put you in a pot and boil you up and eat you. Right. I was like, being a fish with no thoughts and no like major hunt drive sounds nice, but also a lot of things eat fish. But I think I'm still fine with a fish.
You'd be a blue whale.
Bigger fish.
A blue whale.
Yeah.
I could be some kind of whale.
They never say that you have to be something smaller.
Octopuses are intelligent. So.
I know that does confuse me a little bit about like the choices of animals. It makes it seem like you could be any animal, but that seems like practically challenging. Like imagine
physiologically
like a blue
wise.
whale. Yeah, like that's a huge creature. Like where are we putting this thing? And like how...
They did say, they say they get rid of all of your organs. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how much of you is even in
right.
your
Is
eyes.
it just like a consciousness like implant or
do I have my memories as an eagle, or like you were saying, like do I have the consciousness of that animal, right? Because like there is something to like not worrying about things. Like if you're a dumb animal and you're just like going on instinct, like that's probably, as an anxious person myself, like that doesn't sound terrible. That's fine.
Oh, manatee. I'd be a manatee.
That
there
would
you
be
go.
that's a good one. Yeah.
They don't really get hunted. They don't have to hunt. They're just
and they get to stay in
float.
like warm water, which just sounds lovely. Yeah.
Might not survive in where is this like
Yeah, I have no
the
idea.
UK,
Yeah.
but
in this cold area. I like that one.
That's a good voice. Good
All right,
choice.
Dave, what about you?
I was trying to find what the most annoying animal was.
Oh my gosh.
that could be a parrot.
I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, birds are annoying to keep.
But if I had to go off,
About
I don't know. I want to be.
dog. I can speak to that. They're real annoying.
I think I don't know. I'm torn between two things. One, I want to be one of those fat bears that people just throw food at and just waves at you. I think that'd be fun because then I get free food.
The one guy's mom did end up in a zoo.
A zoo. I was gonna say you'd
Yeah.
have to be a zoo bear.
Yeah. I don't know. But mainly because I can't find anything more annoying. But
Yeah, being
I
an animal
think-
that ended up in a zoo wouldn't be a bad life either, I don't think.
Yep.
But I would say I'd probably either that if I had to. I don't know. A bear would be fun, but I also like owls. So I think being an owl would be fun because then I could just sleep.
Owls are cool. And I think owls are like right there in the center, that they're not giant birds of prey, but they're also, they don't have a lot of predators. They are the predator.
I think I know they had like, why would you want to be like, for John C. Reilly, like you have a lisp, why would you be a bird that can talk? I just think it'd be if I was a bird and had any form of remnants of myself, I'd be aiming for people. Just like I'm gonna find
what's
the
the
worst
one-
berries and just make sure boop.
There's the one bird that attacks people when they get close to where they live. Is it magpies or something?
Oh, magpies
like that?
are, I think,
Maybe.
they're nasty.
Or you could
yeah.
be-
I
What are
don't
those-
want to attack them. I just
One
want
of
to
those
poop
big birds,
Oh, okay.
like ostriches, but are nasty.
Oh, the emus.
Emus.
Is it emus? The ones that
I mean,
look like
ostriches
raptors.
are nasty.
There's cassowaries or something like that. The ones that have like the red thing on their head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
think
I would
so.
just ask, what is the most annoying? And that's what I would want to be.
You'd have to do some research before you got into the hotel.
Dave will leave it up to them. Just make me
Yeah.
something annoying.
Oh my gosh. Seems so
Oh,
risky.
man. I want to be the Chimera from Full Metal Alchemist.
Jeez.
I know, I was thinking about that. I was like, do fantasy creatures, like, is that acceptable?
I want to be a dragon. Well, we got to honor it.
We're bringing
That reminds-
dinosaurs back, guys, because everyone's going to ask to be a dinosaur.
It's the prequel to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That's why they keep attacking all the humans. It's because they were once human.
I like
But,
this lore.
It just the Chimera comment reminded me of I was streaming with somebody and they said something along the lines of like they brought up Full Metal Alchemist and they're like, yeah, I never watched it or anything, and I was like, hey, the best character is a dog named Nina, and they're like, I don't know what you just said, but my whole chat is cursing you out right now.
Oops.
I was like, you just have to watch. But anyway, that brings us to the end of The Lobster.
Was an experience.
Yeah. Final question. Would you guys recommend this to anybody?
Anyone that thinks like Elizabeth.
If you think like me, then no. Because if you are the type of person who like feels everyone's emotions and you're looking for like a relaxing, restful movie, don't watch this. You will be uncomfortable for the entire time. Sorry, now my son is being weird. But it was super fascinating and interesting, and the other side of me that really likes to think about things and like really enjoys dissecting people's psychology, fantastic. Loved that part of it. But incredibly well done in terms of making you feel sick to your stomach most of the movie. So, yeah.
You said you like feeling the emotion. What does
I don't like feeling. I do
like
feel
what
emotions.
tangible feeling does joy have? What is the temperature?
Do you really want to have this conversation? I can answer that question. I'm a therapist, so I have lots of words for that.
I was gonna say. Record a whole other podcast.
We can talk about how it feels in your
That's-
stomach and in your chest and in your hands. Like, if you really want to, I can go into that.
Nah, we're over time.
Yeah, that's a conversation.
Yeah. I think
Well, we're not.
I would
Go ahead.
recommend it with the modifier of like, do you like, kind of high concept, ambiguous, kind of type movies? If so, then yeah, this is right up your alley. If you want a very clear plot with like all of everything spelled out, then you will not enjoy this movie.
Yeah. And I do think also like there should be content warnings, right? Like I think sometimes that's really hard for people if they have certain trauma in their lives or if they've experienced certain things, right? Like there is a pretty like significant like suicide conversation. There's like the whole like cruelty to animals thing. Like there are some content topics that can be upsetting to people, and so I think just like knowing that going into it so that you're as a watcher not putting yourself in a place where you're gonna like trigger yourself, and then just like not enjoy the experience for what it is.
All right, I just had the realization that the society is built by the boomers at a church that just want to see all the young kids get married.
Just
And it's
pair
like, if you're not
everyone
married, what use are you?
Yep.
Anyway,
That's sad.
I say show your kids.
Okay, don't listen to that. No.
Now, I do think it's a good movie. I would agree with what John was saying. It's definitely content warnings. Do a little reading. Like if you're gonna, this is one of those movies that I would recommend if you're gonna tell people like, hey, here's these things, you might just want to read a review or something about it. But as a movie and like for this wow, I can't, my brain erased the word, but the way they shoot it, the pacing, the storytelling, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I think it is a very well shot movie.
Agreed.
Yep.
But once again, do a little research to make sure that you ain't gonna come out worse.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Hop.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that leaves me. I feel like I have a category of media that I put in where I say I really enjoy a piece of work and I have no one to recommend it to, and I think The Lobster is one of those. Like, it's kind of like I read a lot of literary fiction as well, so kind of The Lobster and the way that it goes about examining society and people is what I like to read about. But because it's such a subject that is, like you guys say, it's really uncomfortable. There are going to be moments that are really hard to stomach. It's like, I don't know who I can go to and be like, I think it's safe for you to watch. Because it's really hard to say if this one's, like, a safe thing to watch.
Yeah.
Like, a book I just finished is about the concept of what if prison systems used murder games. And it's like, I loved it. A great book, but I don't know who to recommend it to. Because it's like, it has a lot of really heavy themes that I'm like, important. But is it safe for you to read it at this moment? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't ever be the judge of that.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those movies that, like, this movie works really great on a podcast because there's such deep themes there to talk about. But in some ways, to watch this movie on your own and, like, not have, like, to me, if I were to just, like, watch this movie by myself, I think I would have gone crazy because, like, it's almost like a piece of art. Like, I know all movies are art, but, like, there are certain, to me, there are certain, like, movies that are more art in some ways, like more high art maybe. And, like, this felt like it fell in that category, and it, to me, almost, like, deserves or needs to be, like, discussed and processed. And so, like, what makes, for me, these types of media safer is to be able to have a person, which is kind of funny based on the themes of this movie, that, like, to watch the movie alone would have been not as safe for me emotionally, but to watch it, like, knowing that I can, like, process it and talk about it and get perspective from it is what makes it feel safe. And so, like, this to me feels like a movie that I wouldn't recommend to someone just to, like, hey, you need a Saturday afternoon, like, chill movie? Nah. But, like, if we're gonna, like, sit down and, like, talk about it, then maybe, you know, because then you can, like, process it together. But yeah, I love that, like what you said, Hop, about, like, having this category of media that's, like, so good and so, like, rich, but, like, how do you share that with other people? Like, it almost has to be, like, a shared experience rather than just, like, go and do this on your own kind of thing.
I don't know. I say just throw people in the deep end. Just have fun.
I know, that is your style, Dave. I understand.
Nah. I do send out warnings. Mainly to Hop because we end up watching the same movies every week.
I know, he did message me. He's like, have you seen this before? And I was like, years ago, so I don't remember every detail. He's like, okay, I just wanted to warn you. Because, I mean, we, like he says, we discuss a lot of things. So I have, like, I think I have, like, 2 or 3 warnings that I have going into one of the apps I have before I go into books to see if they're graphic or not.
Yeah.
One of them is animal cruelty / animal death.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, like, sexual assault.
Yeah.
So, like, I think in the context of this movie, I understand why they did it. I don't think they had to show what happened.
Yeah.
But I was like, at least it is within the plot. Because I love horror, but the genre is very loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
I think is an important scene.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What are you talking about? This is a romantic comedy. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This was fun.
Breaking certain societal rules while watching this. We'll find a toaster for you.
No, thank you.
I hope no one was doing that while they were listening to this.
Yeah,
it's
after
very
I said it,
uncomfortable.
I said that as like a joke, and I was like, okay, guys, stop looking at me. I know I'm single, but come on. Anyway, as we mentioned earlier, next episode is going to be Past Lives, just to finish our little trifecta of romantic movies for Valentine's Day.
Anti-romantic movies.
Hey,
really.
you stop spoiling the next week's episode.
Yeah. I thought I knew what Past Lives was about, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is not the best one to come out during this holiday, but that's fine.
Hey.
I knew what the Lobster was, so.
Yeah. You like prolonged eye contact.
Oh, no. All right, have fun with that. That's super uncomfortable.
Yeah, the Lobster and Past Lives, I feel, and the Ghost Story all have their own different awkwardness. One didn't really have much of anything, and the other one was, we're comfortable in our silence and you should too. But anyway, that is it. If you guys have your own thoughts about the lobster or what animal you would like to be, let us know, and wherever. I can't think of anything else right now. All I'm thinking about is I have to make rice. So
It's important.
Yep, so thanks, and talk to y'all later. Or whatever. See ya.
Bye.